In this demo, I'm going to show you how to multiplex the Nimbus workflow across multiple images. So we're going to start by doing a bulk upload of a one experiment that has 4 different images with 2 different channels. I'm going to show you how to build a workflow and iterate over all those images. And then I'm going to show you how to export the data. So I'm going to start here with the upload. So I'm in the Nimbus file system, and I'm in a folder that I want to upload my data into already. I'm going to hit upload files, and now I'm looking at all the files I want to upload. So here I have 4 sets of images. So the first identifier is the experiment identifier, that doesn't vary. The second identifier is for each sample, and then there's 2 channels per sample, so there's blue or green. And I want to upload all of this data at once. And I'd like to, in theory, iterate over it. So I'm just going to select all of it and hit open. And it's going to give me 2 options. It's going to let me accept defaults, and that means that Nimbus is going to do its best to guess how I would like this data formatted. But I'm going to show you how to configure the data set so it, in theory, makes the most sense. So the first thing it does is it lists all the data set I want. Data I want to upload. I can also add more data here if I forgot anything. It wants me to name it something, so I'm just going to call it FO1 bulk. And I can add a description here, and then it tells me exactly where it's going to upload. I'm going to hit upload. So I jumped ahead a little bit, but it took about 30 seconds to upload all the data. The next step is for me to manually configure how I'd like the data laid out. So the first step is to look at what Nimbus guessed about formatting based on the file names. So it identified 3 items here. The first is file name variable 1, which is at 120, 202, 204. That was a sample ID I told you about, and it says that this is probably channel, and I know that's wrong, so I'm going to have to change that. Then it says file name variable 2 is blue-green, and it's saying that's an XY tile, and I know that's wrong. I know those are the channels. So if this was right, I could just go submit, and that would be great, but I know they're wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and clear everything from down here. I'm going to set, because file name variable 1 is my samples, and I want those to be in tiles, I'm going to go to file name variable 1 here for position. And then for file name variable 2, which is my channel info, I'm going to set that to C or channels. And then there's frames per item, and there's only 1 frame per item, so I'm just going to set it to Z, and that should just disappear. And I'm going to hit submit. That took about 5 seconds to completely transcode, but now I have my data set, and I can make sure that I formatted it correctly by looking at this data set info here. So you can see the name, I didn't put a description, it doesn't have any time points. It has 4 XY slices because I put 4 samples in there. 1 Z slice and 2 channels. So it's a 2-dimensional data set with 4 different XY positions. So I'll hit view here. And now you can see my data is loaded. And this, I can adjust kind of the intensity here so it's a little bit brighter. Whoop, that's too bright. There we go. Great. But you can see I'm only looking at 1 position here, right? So I can go to the next one. And this is my 2nd sample. This is my 3rd sample. This is my 4th sample. So I can look at them all one by one. I can also hit unroll here. And now I'm seeing all the data side by side all at once. Great. So I think today I'm just going to segment by nuclei. I'll just go here and do nucleus using CellPostSam. Add tool to toolset. I'm going to hit CellPostSam. And before I move down here to set up any of the parameters I normally do, I want it to iterate over all the images. I don't want it to just analyze 1 image. So if I go ahead and set the XY to 1 to 4, it will iterate over all 4 of my images at once. And because I'm using CellPostSam to find nuclei, I'm going to hit blue. And these guys are a little bit more bigger. Like when I've done this model on one of these samples, there was a little bit of variation, and it was closer to 10 pixels, but these nuclei look massive. So we're going to set this to 25 pixels and hit compute. Okay, so that took about a minute and a half to run. And now you can see I have these segmentations across all 4 of my samples that are my samples at once. And adjust the annotation opacity down and turn off the cytoplasm stain so you can see really cleanly I have all my measures or all my polygons correctly annotating the nuclei. I'm going to go to object list, measure objects, I'm going to hit nucleus, and I'm going to measure blob intensity. I'm going to measure it in the blue channel, so I'm going to get the DAPI intensity. I'm going to go to create properties, and this will iterate over all of my metrics automatically. So we can make sure it's doing that by selecting in the properties menu, I'm going to select mean intensity. And then to show you it's working, I'm going to add XY here. I'm going to get rid of index and I'm going to leave nucleus. So now you can see all my XY positions are all nuclei in the first top quadrant, and I have mean intensity. If I flip it, I can look at positions in XY4, which is this bottom quadrant, and they also have mean intensity. So I've been able to now really quickly segment all the nuclei from the 4 images and also measure the area, or sorry, mean intensity. I can then export this to a CSV here, and I'm going to just export mean intensity as my metric, call that FO1 bulk. Great, so now you can see I have my result data file here. I have all the tags, all the mean intensity metrics. And if you see, I can scroll down and I have the data from each of the 4 tiles, which coincides one-to-one with the samples I uploaded. Great, so you can analyze this data here by downloading, clicking this link and downloading it from Cell Image Library. It's free and open to the public. You can also get started with your own data by scanning this QR code that will help you get set up in NimbusImage.